Hello and welcome to the Europhoria podcast, where we discuss the great, glam and garish from Eurovision past. It is actually currently just myself in a room. Isobel is over in Canada for her Christmas break. So we're going to do something a little bit different, and Isobel will explain it in just a mo. But basically, because she's over there and I'm here in London still, we're going to do a shorter, different format version of the podcast, and normal programming will resume next week. This was initially to solve a problem of her being away, but actually, as you may have seen from the title, what we're calling the Mini-phoria podcast is probably a format that we're going to take on every once in a while, maybe once every 5 episodes. And in the format, we're going to sort of do things that we couldn't do within the normal podcast format. So interview some interesting people or look at different topics and things like that. So hopefully this will be something that you like and we can do more of. But because we recorded this episode a short while ago, before we start, I'm just going to run through some of the news that's been going on and some any other business as well. So as Eurovision draws ever nearer, more and more countries are announcing their entries. So we've got entries now confirmed from Albania, Armenia, Austria, Azerbaijan, Belgium, Cyprus, Ireland, Macedonia, Montenegro, the Netherlands, and I'm sure there'll be more coming out in the coming days, so we'll keep you updated. What we'll do is, when Isobel returns, we'll have a listen to some of the songs and give a rundown of our favourites, and we'll see if they line up with everyone else's favourites, or see if our tastes are slightly different. Also in the news, it was announced that the entrants for the UK Eurovision You Decide will be announced on Monday the 23rd of January, which is just a few days before the actual deciding competition. So what we'll do that week is we'll do a special podcast where we listen to the probably around 6 entries that the UK will be doing, and we'll judge it ourselves then as well. Just moving on quickly to any other business. I don't know if any of our listeners, any of you guys follow Isobel on Twitter, but she had a rather exciting journey over to Canada, where she was meeting her parents. Totally unintentionally, Isobel became a viral Twitter star. As much as a surprise to me as it was to her, and I'm sure all of you. But if you're interested in how Isobel's tweet got an article written about her on BuzzFeed, Mashable, The Mirror, I think, and probably a number of other news outlets, go and check out her very Christmassy themed tweet from a couple of weeks ago. Also, in any other business, we've actually had a couple of emails from some really, really lovely listeners just giving, just saying hi and saying how they enjoy the podcast. And it's really, really nice to hear from you guys, and to hear that you're enjoying the podcast and the songs. There's a couple of people here who said that they really enjoyed We Stood for Song, which I think Isobel only gave a 6 to. So maybe if we put it to the public vote, it would have got a higher score. But Isobel is a harsh critic, but I think that's the only way that we're going to get a really successful entry. So thank you to Thomas Barlow, who sent us an email saying that he loves our podcast, which is very nice to hear. And also to Daniela Noren, I hope I'm saying your last name correctly. Thank you for both sending us emails, and also thank you guys for rating and reviewing and subscribing to the podcast on iTunes as well. That really does help us get the podcast in front of more and more people, which is of course what we want. So just before we start, I'm just going to remind you, you can follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is at EurophoriaCast. You can follow us on Instagram. That's at Europhoria Podcast. And if you do like what we do, or have any other anything else to add, or if you disagree with Isobel's scoring of my songs and think maybe I should be given a few more points, then do email Europhoria podcast@gmail.com. It would be great to hear from you. So without further ado then, let's jump back in time by about a week and hopefully hear from myself and Isobel from our Mini-phoria. Okay, so if everything's gone according to plan, you will have just heard my voice, but in about a week's time.
Time travelling Roland.
Okay.
So this is a slightly different format to the normal episodes because we've had a bit of a conundrum recently in the fact that I, again, if everything's gone to plan, will right now be in Canada with my parents. So my parents live in Canada, we've discussed before. I'm going over for Christmas. I'm actually going over to surprise my mother.
Shh, it's a secret.
By the time this is released, she'll have seen me and have cried, probably non-stop for 5 days solid.
She's still crying.
Oh, she's still crying right now. I can hear her from here. Yeah, so she doesn't know I'm going over. I'm going over, but I'm actually going to be away for 3 weeks. So we're having to bulk record a lot of podcasts right now so that Roland can still release them week by week and so you guys don't miss out on the top Eurovision podcast of the UK/world. And so we decided to do a slightly different one so that because it's not, I mean, it's great fun doing them. It's great fun doing the stories, but it does take a lot of research and a bit of writing, and it takes quite a bit of time. And we wanted to make sure that they were still fun and interesting, that we were having fun and not stressed out about having to do so many in such a short space of time. So we've decided to create the Mini-phoria, which is what this is. So instead of doing each of us doing a story and Roland doing his song, this is just going to be a lovely little bite-sized Europhoria episode, maybe not half an hour long, depending on
how we go
on this, if we know what we're talking about, where instead of doing a story, we just talk about Eurovision memories,
our experience of Eurovision.
Memories,
so
like the corners of my mind.
Because that's very beautiful. I feel like you
kept
need
in
to
tune
that
there,
was quite good.
That's the first time in my life.
So because it's a half-hour episode, I feel like downing a bottle of red in half an hour is definitely not a good idea.
So instead, my idea was,
we've got a lovely can of Gordon's Gin and Slim. # we're not being sponsored by Gordon's, so it could be any gin. So we're going to crack that open, have a little sip. Are you ready?
You go. Oh, that sounded great.
Go on, your 10.
That's better than the bottle opening. I love a can of G&T.
So we're going to have a little can of G&T and a little catch up. Imagine us sat in front of a fireplace. There's no fireplace here. And when we're going to chat, I thought
Don't ruin the illusion, Roland.
So I thought the first question, Isobel, I would ask you, and then
were we meant to have questions prepped?
No, we're I just thought a little conversation starter,
casual chat. Okay.
And a good place to start, and then you can ask me if you want. I don't know. So what's your earliest memory of Eurovision and you experiencing Eurovision Song Contest?
Ooh, so my love of Eurovision comes from my parents. So when I was younger, they used to host and go to other people's houses for Eurovision parties when I was quite young. So I remember people descending on our house for Eurovision, and my parents and all their mates sat around the TV. I mean, now, obviously, they were very drunk, I realised that. Just shouting at the telly and cheering and jeering and having a good old giggle at what good Sir Terry Rogan was teasing people about, inevitably. So we used to do that quite a bit. So, yeah, either people would come to ours, we'd go to theirs. They definitely do specific things. I remember going to my mum's mate Pauline's. Everyone's mum's got a mate called Pauline, don't they?
Classic Pauline.
Classic Pauline move to have everyone over for Eurovision. But going over to hers, and everyone had to take a cheese from a different country.
Very good.
Yeah,
very
so there was
good
a selection
Eurovision
of European, Eastern European
That's
cheeses.
A lot of cheese.
Oh, it was a lot of cheese,
lot of
yeah.
cheese.
And then when we got a bit older, when I got a bit older, and didn't have to join in my mum and dad's parties anymore.
Yeah.
Whenever they'd go out to do their Eurovision party somewhere else, if they weren't hosting it at ours, I then started having mates over to our house to do it, and we started our own Eurovision parties where what did we do? I think the first year we did it was Daz Sampson year.
Oh, God.
And we all dressed up in our school uniforms in honour of the terrible UK entry that we had.
Yeah.
And everyone had to make a dish from a specific country. They were all awful. I'm not saying that because the dishes from those countries were awful. We did not make them well. We did not do
How old were
well.
you at that point, making a dish from another country? I'll look up Daz Sampson.
Daz Sampson must have been 2004?
So you were probably about 15.
15, yeah.
Yeah, you're not a great chef when you're 15.
No, we were idiots.
Oh, yeah, no, 2006.
2006, okay.
With the song Teenage Life, which I thought was so inappropriate.
So we were 17, so that would make sense because we'd just finished school and we're going into college. So we were finished with our school uniforms,
so really,
basically. That was
the song spoke
novelty
to you in a really deep and meaningful way.
He was. I'm going to do an episode about Daz at some point because he's an odd bloke.
He's a strange fella.
There's so many videos online you can watch of him around Eurovision when he was in. It was weird. There's
Behind
a
the
whole documentary, a fake
God.
documentary about Daz Sampson. It's mental. We'll talk about this another time.
So for
what
me,
about you?
So for me, I remember before I remember a specific Eurovision. I just remember more the feeling of the.
Oh, you're such a dick.
No, so the first the first Eurovision I properly remember was Dana International, which was 1997, 1998.
You know what? I agree with you there. I think because of our age, I remember Eurovision as being an entity in my life.
Yeah.
But I don't remember anything specific. Oh, actually, wait a second. When was Dana was 1998? So that time period is definitely the point where I remember actual Eurovision things happening because 96 was Gina G, Ooh Ah Just a Little Bit.
Yeah,
which I was 8 at the time, 7. And I mean, I was going to say, and I was well into my pop music back then. Still am. Still obsessed with Gina G. Saw her once at Butlins perform.
Wow.
Saw her up a gusset, didn't I? We were stood that close.
You saw her up a gusset? Oh, you saw
we saw up her gusset.
I got confused.
Yeah. Benji, my mate Benji, she tried doing some audience interaction and she put the microphone out for him and she went, ooh, ah. And he was meant to go just a little bit. And he went, ooh, ah. And she was like, no. Ooh, ah. And he went, ooh, ah, and it all went wrong. It didn't go well.
Fucked it up,
like
Benji.
that. So 96 was that. Katrina and the Waves was 97 with Love Shine a Light.
Yeah.
Still a fantastic song and a winner for the UK, which is great. Yeah. And then if 98 it's Dana. So those 3 years were definitely like
good 3 years.
Oh my God, I really want to rewatch all of them now.
I know, yeah, we'll have to go back
Christmas
through.
watching, I'm doing that.
So the reason, and I've mentioned it before in another podcast, is that I watched Eurovision 98 with my dad.
Yeah.
And he explained Dana's story to me. Yeah, so I mean, and that sort of stuck with me and you know, really has it's and it was mind opening. Eye opening sounds too garish, but it was like it sort of, you know, when you realize there are people with, you know, very different lives to you, it's quite something, and that sort of has stuck with me for a lot of the rest of my life.
And it was a bloody great
song.
It was
a bloody good song.
And the outfit with the feathers.
That, I mean, to be honest, that as a
visual. I really
visual,
want to wear that. I want to build it.
Yeah, it looked amazing and so much movement as well. So yeah, really, that was my earliest actual visual. I can see it in my head memory of Eurovision, and since then, I think, you know, pretty much every year I've made as much of an effort as I can to see as much of Eurovision as I possibly can. It's been a real part of my life. So your teenage years, I have a spell that I call the dark years, which were a series of Eurovisions, beginning with my first year of university. Where for about 5 years, I was consistently, before the end of Eurovision, sick in the toilet because of Eurovision drinking games. And I know now that that's not the way to enjoy Eurovision. The way to enjoy Eurovision is to enjoy the songs, have a drink, have fun, but you're not
get very stressed out. Scoring.
Yeah, rather than stressed out about being sick in a toilet.
No.
But I mean, our drinking game was it was a bit extreme, and I
don't know if we ever actually did drinking games. I think we just drank.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so mine was forced drinking. So you'd pull a series of countries out of a hat, and basically you'd be drinking during the song. You'd drink every time someone said love, peace, world, children, all of those things. Yeah. But then the complicated bit was at the end. You basically drew all of the countries that were participating out of a hat. So you'd each have about 5 or 6 different countries, and then depending on the score that they got from each country would show how much you would drink. And so if you got one of that year's favourites who consistently get 10, 11 or 12 points, and they go so fast through them as well, they really do power through. So you're drinking and then you've got to drink another like 3 fingers of drink, or another like 2 fingers of drink and 3 fingers of drink. It really adds up. So there was 5 years where I can't really remember the end of any Eurovision.
That's a sad time.
It is a sad time. That's why I call them the dark years.
I missed a couple of years of Eurovision just through, I think, just not having anyone else around that was into Eurovision.
Yeah.
So like, I think when some mates had gone off to uni, there was a few years then where there was no one near me that got into it, so I missed it.
There were a few dodgy years, weren't there? Remember, and the dark
Andy
years,
Abraham.
Andy Abraham. I always feel a little bit bad at the end of an episode when we diss someone, when we take the piss out of Scooch, or
it's all in jest.
And we're aware it's people, having, putting effort in and doing their best, but I think at the same time you can call someone out for being a little bit shit. And
unless it's us, and then don't.
I think the one I hate the most, and I don't know why it is.
What a sentence to begin with. I think the Eurovision entry that I hate the most,
and it's kind of not unjustified, but I think the one I dislike the most is Just Abovi.
Oh,
that
God,
sounds
it was
good to
so
me.
Bad.
And it was like,
I felt bad for him watching it.
Sounds good to me.
It was really painful to witness.
Was not good. Like, even like the other ones, Andy Abraham, Scooch, Daz Sampson, even they committed to cheese. I think the reason why it was so awkward was because it was like
it was too earnest. So this is one of my biggest pet peeves / things I find funniest in the world is people being too. Misplaced sincerity is the way that I normally put it. So people being too earnest about things that they shouldn't be earnest about.
Is this where we go back to episode 1 where we talked about James Corden?
No, I don't think I find him earnest.
Oh.
I just think he's really bloody obnoxious.
See, I find his earnestness when he goes, "Thank you so much."
See, no, that's no. I don't. That's not misplaced sincerity.
Okay,
that's fraud. He's not. He's not. He doesn't actually think
Arrest
that.
Man.
He doesn't actually think that. Okay. He's not being sincere. He's just faking it. So that's the different thing.
Yeah.
What I mean is when you see, say, you see someone singing a song that's shit, but it's really like they think it's lyrically beautiful and they're shutting their eyes and they're just really getting emotional about it. I will laugh my socks off at that because it's crap. Why are you so into this? It's really bad.
Please don't ever watch me record one of my songs that I do for this podcast then, because I have to close my eyes and get into it to get the emotion across. So.
Yes, I laugh really hard at that. So things like, bless him, poor Josh.
Yeah.
It was shit.
Yeah.
But he was really committing to it.
Yeah.
That makes me giggle a lot.
And that was in the transition. He was after Scooch?
Yes.
So that was in the transition where we went, actually, we should probably stop putting in like comedy acts. So Daz Sampson and Scooch.
Yeah,
and
try
we should
going
start.
serious.
So then we went Josh Abovi, then we went Jade Ewan, and
who came fifth.
Well
done, Jade.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You might be my least favourite member of the Sugar Babes, but you did bloody well at Eurovision.
Yeah, so I think there was always going to be an awkward transition, and we're still having that awkward transition now with Engelbert and
we're just
Bonnie.
having a difficult teenage years, all right?
But we occasionally get one through that's quite, that's sincere. And
I'm really genuinely gutted that Blue didn't do better, because I was really into that song as a Eurovision entry. It wasn't too wet, it wasn't too serious, it wasn't too ridiculous. We didn't have some absolute bell end like Daz Sampson singing it. We're such Daz Sampson downers on here, aren't we?
I know.
It was a legit pop band who were bloody good in their time, in their day as a boy band in the UK, and the song was great and they really put their all into it.
I don't know if the performance was quite good enough. The performance on the night, I don't know, maybe
I imagined it was better than it was.
Rose-tinted glasses. I think from what I remember, I liked the song and I liked them. I think they looked a little bit old on stage. They looked a little bit rusty.
Maybe I've rose-tinted spectacles.
But no, I agree with you, and I think if we can do more of that, if we can get other bands back together to do that, I think the intention was great there, and I think it showed in a way, because they were well received. It just didn't necessarily translate into the voting. But yeah, no, I agree with you. But yeah, so. Sorry, Josh Debovi, we just sort of went on about you, but it was, it was a difficult transition, a difficult time in our Eurovision career.
You know what my dad reminded me of the other day?
Go on.
When he posted about our podcast.
David.
Good old DJ Chillman.
Yeah.
He reminded me that we once went to Butlins. This is a separate time from when I saw up Gina G's Gusset.
That sounds so filthy every time you say that.
We did see right up it. She had thick tights on, but we got a right view. We stood right at the front. I also got on stage with Vanilla Ice that same year.
Bloody hell. At Butlins?
Yeah.
Bloody hell, they get all of the big names.
It was an adults weekend.
Have you seen Vanilla Ice is doing Vanilla Ice on Ice in London?
I know, I really want to go to it. It looks mental. What a genius. Love him. Yeah, my dad posted about Eurovision the other day and about our podcast, and reminded me of when we went to Butlins when I was very young, and we were watching, I think we won a trip to Butlins. Great. And we were watching Eurovision on the TV in our chalet, and the meter ran out on our electricity and the TV turned off just at like a really pivotal point in the voting. We were all livid because we had to get the electricity back on so we could find out what was happening, who was going to win.
That is so dramatic.
Yeah, that might have actually been Gina G year. So I found an article that listed some people that you never knew had gone to competed to be a UK Eurovision entry.
Who didn't make it to be Eurovision entry? Yeah. Oh, great. Go on. List some of that.
Samantha Fox.
Okay. Okay.
Right. They short-lived, page 3 model turned pop star.
Celebrity. Pop star.
Was involved in it.
We all know Jordan had a go.
We all know Jordan had a go, looking like a Teletubby. Bless her.
Bless her.
Oh, poor love.
Oh, Jordan.
Trisha Penrose, Heartbeat actress.
Wow.
Yeah, back in 2002, she got beaten by the lovely Jessica Garlick.
Our most recent best shot.
Oh, she got third?
Third, I think, yeah.
Good on
Good
you,
work,
Jess.
Jessica Garlick.
2006, Kim Marsh gave it a go.
Wow, didn't get in.
Didn't get in.
No.
So she was remarkably beaten by Daz Sampson.
No.
Our favourite.
That's got to be a low point in your career, isn't it?
Also, someone who lost out to Daz Sampson that year, Anthony Costa from Blue.
No.
Mental.
Oh my God. Well,
absolutely insane.
He had another go though, didn't he? So
and he got in there.
And he got in that time.
Bloody well done, Anthony. And I'm proud of you.
Done.
I'm still proud of you to this day.
But was that before?
How did he beat so many people?
That was before we decided, was it? Or was that after we? That was. Did the public choose Daz Sampson?
Oh fucking hell! I hope not.
We need to stop letting the public decide things.
Well, clearly post Brexit, bloody knobheads. Now we're getting political.
Oh no, yeah, we do take a stance. Anyone else on your list there?
Last one, 2007, Brian Harvey from E17.
Oh!
Yeah, Brian Harvey from E17, who also, weirdly, when I was at Butlins, that time where we saw Gina G and Vanilla Ice, we made friends with some of the people that worked there, and they told us that Brian Harvey got banned because he once... I think broke quite a lot of stuff, and then they just about let him back to Butlins. And then the year that we went, whilst Vanilla Ice was on stage, he went into his... I mean, I don't know if all this is true, so don't sue me. This might all be made up, but we were told this. We were told this by the people that worked there, that he snuck into Vanilla Ice's dressing room and drank all his booze.
Reportedly.
Supposedly, that happened.
God, you'd think he'd go to Butlins to have a little relax, wouldn't you? Have a little recuperation at Butlins. Oh, bless him. Butlins is a good place. I've never been to a Butlins, but I imagine you go, and it's just full of people who've either tried to be on or have been on Eurovision.
Oh my God! It's 2007, the same year Brian Harvey went for it. So did Atomic Kitten's Liz McLaren and Big Brothers. And
Big Brothers?
And none of them made it.
I thought you were about to say Big Brothers, like Bubble or something, but...
Oh, I'd love... Go on, Bubble, give it a go. I'd vote for you.
Go on, Bubble, give it a go. Yeah, well, that is That's something. All the people who've tried to get on and haven't got on. And could they have done better?
We should just give it a try.
Well, we are. I am. Every week. Do you not realise that? I mean, it's not a joke. By the end of the year, I'll have 52 songs that I can hand to BBC and go, here, one of them will work.
They're going to ban us from ever being anywhere near the BBC.
No, it'll be fine. They'll go, thanks, Roland. Thanks, Roland and Isabel. We will take these on. We'll have a listen. And we'll
just
let you know.
send them straight to Andrew Lloyd. He seems to be involved in this very deeply. Just send them to Jon Ola. He might know someone. Even if it's not us, maybe we'll just represent a different country.
So... I went for dinner with my family and our family friend, and I told him about this podcast, and don't look that excited yet, but he said that he used to work with and was friends with the head of the UK Eurovision fan club.
Oh my God!
So I think, and I legitimately think that at some point someone like that might hear this podcast because it's UK. So I'll do a little shout out now, and I can't remember his name, sorry, but if you're there, we would love to speak to you. It would be amazing, because the UK Eurovision fan club choose the songs that go to the selection, so they select.
I didn't know that.
So like we talked about Spain a couple of
part of it.
I think so, but there's lots of people who are a part of it, so it's like, it's basically it's voting.
Yeah.
So like we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, with Spain had 300 and whatever songs that got entered.
Jeez, yeah.
So when that happens in the UK, the fan club decides on what 6 or however many songs then go to the live competition that we're going to go to in January.
Yeah.
So they've got quite a lot of power, haven't they? So they must have heard so many songs. So I would love to do a phone in with some exciting people, and I think in the new year we'll look at like having a phone conversation with someone from
post Christmas, once we've actually got some time to relax and focus on this a bit more. And also as this grows, as we've said, please get in touch with us if you have anything you want to join in with. And with these little Mini-phoria episodes, so we've created this one just to help us with the predicament of the fact that I'm not going to be here for a while. We need to record a few episodes. But also, in the future, maybe we'll just do it if people send us some of their fun Eurovision memories. If you've got something, just email us at europhoriapodcast@gmail.com. And maybe we'll do another little mini-phoria of your memories of Eurovision past and present.
Yeah, we'd love that.
And future, if you're psychic.
Ooh, I'd love that. We could do an entirely...
Psychic Eurovision!
We could do a whole episode just of stories from the future. And who knows if they'll be true or not. No one can sue us in that case. I think that just about does it. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if you haven't, you can skip it. It's too late now.
If you haven't, soz mate, but we've got other shit to do.
So we'll be back next week with a regular episode. It will be, we're also recording that tomorrow, so you'll hear my voice at the start doing the news so that it's as up to date as it possibly can be. But we'll have some great story. I'm very excited about my story tomorrow. That will be next week to you listeners.
Mine's going to be a lot more lighthearted than last week's episode.
So last week's was it wasn't necessarily heavy. It was just real.
Just but beautiful.
I mean, there were beautiful stories.
Next week, mine has no political aspects to it whatsoever.
So I've done. I did 3 ones about war, and I've decided in a row, and I've decided that that as a trilogy stands alone. So I've decided to break from that, and I'm excited about that. We'll see about the song, but I'm going to leave that till next week. So, as ever, guys, thanks very much for listening. Just a quick, again, we'll go through our contact details if you want to get in touch with us or listen to what we're doing. It's Europhoria Cast on Twitter, Europhoria Podcast on Instagram, and Europhoria Podcast @gmail.com to get in touch with us. Thanks very much for listening, guys, and Happy New Year. And we will see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Happy New Year.
Goodbye.